Welcome. Welcome back to Crystalline Temple, beautiful souls and beings. Thank you for being with me at this time. Today I'm just going to be giving a part 2 to my ayahuasca experience. If you haven't watched my first video, definitely check it out. I wanted to give some months to actually observe the integration process, because the integration process is the most intense process, even though sitting with ayahuasca does feel like it is intense within itself. The medicine stays within you for up to, however long. Everybody's different. So I'm just going to share my journey since then. I sat with Mama Aya in November of last year, and it's been about 7 months, I want to say, to begin. If you are thinking of trying ayahuasca and you have a very sensitive nervous system and very sensitive gut, I can't really say that I would recommend it for you. The retreat that I went to, they did an amazing job. They had doctors there, and I felt very, very safe. Some things I didn't share in the last video was because I was still processing and it was really sensitive for me. But out of everybody there, I was the only person that didn't purge. When I mean purge, I mean projectile vomit, diarrhea. I felt very much so like I was a shaman within my own nature. I did cry a little bit the first ceremony. The second ceremony was very, very intense. And yes, I did go with my partner, and I witnessed my partner go through the ringer. I got to a point during the ceremony, the second ceremony, where I was receiving so many messages, so many insights, connected with my higher self, with Yeshua, Christ consciousness. I received a lot of heart activations, but I made the mistake of inhaling the mapacho when you're supposed to just hold it in your mouth and then you blow it out, because I was I needed some mapacho because I'm seeing everybody's entities, everybody's spirits. The chick next to me was literally channeling multiple people, mimicking others. And so I was just okay, this is some heavy spiritual warfare going on in here. And I see why it's so important to go to a real shaman. These shamans, they did amazing, especially there's only 2 of them, and there's I want to say there's 14 of us. I want to say maybe 12 or 14 of us. And this ceremony was the most packed they've had in a while. So normally I guess they only get maybe half of that amount and they work with people. So the fact that there was that many people and the shamans were so attentive to everyone, I also felt like I was an observer of everybody. And I kept getting the message to focus on yourself. And I had this weird anticipation that something was going to happen. I kept looking over to my partner, and I was just hey, I love you. And remember that the Most High is with you. And going back to what I was saying, when I asked for the mapacho, I accidentally inhaled it. Let this be your warning. Don't inhale mapacho while you're on ayahuasca. Just don't. I started getting extreme heart palpitations. And on top of this, the shamans were singing. And every time the shamans were singing, the ayahuasca pulls you in deeper and deeper. And you're in this different dimension, it felt like for me. And I kept hearing this woman with this, it felt like a trickster spirit, laughing. And I was just like, okay, like I have to create my shield. I feel like I'm all over the place. Anyways, bear with me. I had to create my shield. Yeshua came in and activated my heart chakra and reminded me of love. Only love is real. And they even tell you at the beginning to focus on things that bring you love and peace. So when you do get pulled into these intense emotions or these shadows, that you are able to ground yourself in love and just allow that to be your shield. But I had to use the bathroom really bad. I had to pee so bad. But also part of me was just like, nah, I can hold it. Because I didn't want to walk in front of everybody. It's ridiculous. But it's like everybody's projectile vomiting and going through some serious stuff. And I felt like me asking to go to the bathroom was just like, I feel like other people need help, essentially. And this is what ayahuasca showed me. She showed me you always put yourself aside for other people. You minimize what you're going through. And so, since I was overwhelmed and I accidentally inhaled the mapacho they gave me that was supposed to just clear my energy field. Because I want to say, like, it was arm's width length from the next person. So I had a person left and my partner on the right. And so that's not very much space to just be in your own energy. So I had to really just practice grounding myself, but I got overwhelmed. The mapacho overstimulated me. I was having extreme heart palpitations. I was extremely nervous and I had a hard time breathing. I couldn't slow down my heart rate. I felt like I was going to transcend. Hard to keep my spirit in my body. Hey, like, can I get some help over here? And I love the lady. She was so helpful. She held my hand and she was like guiding me through some breath work. I was just like, I'm just really overwhelmed. I'm having a hard time breathing. And she's like, okay, just breathe. Do you want to leave the room? I'm like, yes, but I can't walk right now because I'm just like overstimulated. And she's like, okay, let me ground you. Just feel my hand. Her hand felt so good. I was like, I don't want to let go of her hand. Moving on, I was like, hey, do you have something to like stop this? Because I had an intuitive feeling that like if it went on any longer, I will die. And they do call Mama Aya the vine of death, right? And they do have you sign this paper as like, hey, like you could possibly die if you take this medicine or not. This is not to like put fear in anybody, but it is the reality of it. I finally get up. She helps me walk out of the ceremonial room and I instantly felt so much better. And she sat me on this couch in the hallway and I'm still shaking, I'm still breathing. I'm like, do you have something that will stop this? And like I kept telling them, I need something that's gonna stop this now. Like I can't, this is too much. This is too overwhelming for me. And I am a very hypersensitive person to the point where I'm like, I'm horrible at breath work at this point in my time. Like I'm horrible at breathing. I was a chronic stoner since high school. So let that sink in. And so I was just like, okay. I had so much anxiety in my solar plexus in my gut. And they gave me these antipsychotic drops that they go under your tongue and they're like, hey, like these are going to take like up to 30 minutes to work, right? And I didn't want the ladies to leave me, but they had to help other people. And I was just like, can you please get my partner? Can you please get my boyfriend? And they're like, well, he's going through his own thing. I'm like, I know I need my boyfriend right now because we came here together and he's the only person that I know that can ground me. And essentially, he comes and he seems like he's doing good, like he went through all his waves. And he's sitting with me and he's like guiding me through each wave. He's very like logical and he very precise. So he already knew how many waves were gonna come and the intensity of them because he experienced it the previous night when everybody else was done. Me and him were like late to experiencing the ayahuasca, but he took a little bit more than me. He had his whole journey that night, and he only really had himself to ground, so he was able to guide me. And as I was looking at him, like, his face was changing, and I saw different versions of him in different timelines, possibly. All versions of him that I've recognized, some of, like, ancestrally. And it was just so beautiful, and it was such a beautiful experience just to have him with me and be like, I trust you, I support you, and I feel like this was all part of the journey. Anyways, I don't know, maybe an hour or so goes by, and I'm starting to relax, I'm starting to calm down, the antipsychotics are working. Then my partner is like, I need help over here. And they thought it was for me, but he was like, no, I'm the one who needs help. And so he's trying to stay grounded, but he's freaking out. And he was just like, he had this dream, this memory of when I first met him. And he was just like, I'm gonna die. Tell my girlfriend that I'm sorry, this sucks, but I'm gonna die here. This is where I die. And so, come to find out, since it was really dark in the ceremonial room, he accidentally got ayahuasca on his hands, and knowing him, he puts everything in his mouth. So subconsciously, he put ayahuasca in his mouth, and he rubbed it on his gums. And so he had another intense trip into this dimension. So he's freaking out. I'm out. Like, my ears, I hear everything, but my eyes are closed, and I'm just like chilling on the couch. And then I hear movement back and forth. And then he leaves to go to the nurse's office. And then he like runs out, and he's aggressive. And he's just like, don't touch me. I want my girlfriend. I want my girlfriend. I want my darling. He runs to the bathroom, which was past the couch. And he was like, I need my darling. Don't touch me. And then like I instantly snap out. I'm still feeling ayahuasca, by I mentioned. Like, it went from like a 10 to like a 6. And so I'm like, I get up instantly and I go to him. I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? And essentially he's just like, he smiles and he's like, hi. Like, I'm like, are you okay? You'll be okay. I give him a kiss. And instantly he falls back. And like, there's a lot of us trying to hold him up. I'm like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, I'm gonna puke. Yo, this guy, I don't know how many times homeboy threw up, but he threw up a lot. He threw up so much, and he was just on the floor in the bathroom, throw up everywhere. And I didn't really care, because I was just like, yo, I want him to be okay. Pretty much just laying in his vomit. It was gross, but I wasn't there to be like judging. I was just like, yo, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Because he puked a lot. And it was like he was going through this cycle, to the point like both of the shamans had to come out of the ceremony room and had to help him. And he just pretty much was just like, I want it to end now. Can you just kill me? This sucks. And not knowing he was going through like his own cycles in another dimension of this loop, this death loop. But from my end, I'm like, yo, are you okay? And instantly something in me shifts. And the shaman starts singing and chanting, and I start singing. And I am a singer, and I do repress my voice a lot, and I don't really like open up. But this time I was just like, I have to sing, I have to use my voice. So I start singing, and I start speaking in a different language I don't even know. I've hit different pitches that I've never hit before. And the shamans are just looking at me like in awe. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, like this is super powerful. And so I'm singing, but I don't know exactly the translation that's coming out of my mouth. But mentally, I'm asking the divine for him to live and for him to get through this. And he was probably in there on the ground going through this cycle of puking for like, I don't know, maybe 3 hours or so. And then I was just like, hey, I need to call his mom. Like, I need to call his mom. And they're like, do you think this is what he needs, is to talk to his mom? And I'm just like, woman, I need to call his mom. And because his mom is a very spiritual woman. And So they take a minute to guide me to my room to get my phone. And the lady's just like, don't worry, he's gonna be okay. Like, look at the stars. And the stars were so beautiful. I was just like, I'm a little like high on the ayahuasca. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, everything's gonna be alright. And then I was like, focus, Nadia, focus. So I get to the room, I grab the phone, and the lady walks me back. And there's like no connection because it's in, San Salvador. It's very isolated, Peru. And I was like, hey, do you guys have Wi-Fi? And they're like, yeah. So I'm messaging his mom. She doesn't answer. I'm messaging his sister-in-law. And I'm just like, hey, my partner needs all the prayers he can get right now. Like, please somebody call me. And at this time, it was like, the time difference is like, we are in Peru, they're in like New Hampshire. So I wasn't expecting them to like answer right away. I knew it was like super early in the morning there as well. And I was just like, okay. I went back to be with him, and I just was like, I did a prayer that his ancestors and his team surround him and guide him. And I sit down, and the shamans offer me a seat in between them. And we need your help bringing your partner to the back room. And so we pick him up, we bring him to the back room, and he's walking. He's here, he's talking, and I'm happy, and I'm like, okay, like, if you can walk and you can talk, this is good. But he essentially overdosed. He overdosed. And so the fact that he was walking and he was consciously able to respond and not stuck, we put him in the room, but he's still going through like so much pain. He's still experiencing the intensities. And I was like, hey, are you able to give him something? And I kept asking them, and they're like, he's too reactive and aggressive for them to give him anything earlier. And my partner, he's very like, yo, what are you doing? What are you trying to give me? He's very skeptical. So I had to be there like, yo, you need to take this. And they tried to give him a shot, and that didn't do because he does not like needles. So I finally put the drops in his mouth and that they gave me, and it takes him a while to start, grounding and slowing down. And he's just like, hey, can you continue to sing to me? And then I continue to sing. And may I mention, it's probably like 4 a.m. We don't leave the building until like 7 a.m. We were like the last people in there again. And then the nurse, she has another job in the city. And so she's like, hey, I don't want to leave you guys. Do you want to come with us? And I was just like, hey, like, do you want to go? And he's just like, no, I'm okay. I'm starting to feel better. And so for me, that experience, that's just maybe like 20% of the whole experience to summarize it. But for me, that built up a lot of anxiety because I'm like, what I look like when my partner dying here in Peru? Because if he going, I'm going. Like, that was just my mindset. Things started to lighten up over the night, and he was able to walk, and he came back to himself. But we decided that we were going to leave that day because there's something so sacred about that space that it holds you there. And we just kind of wanted to leave. We actually had 3 ayahuasca sessions, and we decided not to do the next ayahuasca session just because it was so intense for both of us. And so they're like, you sure you want to leave? Like, we have a person come massage. They fed us great food. They took care of us. But it was just like, no, we need to leave. Like, we've learned what we needed to learn here. So we take the bus back to Cusco, and we go back to our hotel. And this was the best hotel. Like, the lady there was so great. And we just spent the rest of those few days, I want to say 3 or 4 days at the hotel, and just discovering a little bit more of Cusco and just kind of grounding into our experience there. It was such an intense experience to integrate. and then to come back to the US and deal with US stuff and the energy shifting, because the US feels very different if you left the country and you go to a very sacred land. People live differently. It hits different when you come back. So anyways, all that happened, but a few weeks later, months later, my gut has not been the same since ayahuasca. It hasn't. I've had so many gut health issues. I've had bloody stools, so much pain in my gut. But I must say, hold myself accountable. They say you need to continue this diet, like this vegetarian plant-based diet. Avoid substances like up to 2 weeks or longer after your session. It'll just help you because you've cleared, right? Me, I was like, I'll be fine. I started, sitting with cannabis again, and I started eating whatever I wanted to eat. And I think it was just really me trying to block out a lot of things. And so that led into a lot of issues already with the gut imbalance I had. And it's June now, and I'm just now starting to feel clearer. But within this time frame, I went from using cannabis, eating meat, eating junk, to not using cannabis, to not eating meat, to not eating junk. So it's a journey. Everybody's journey is different. And I released a lot of people in my life. A lot of people, when I came back, just left. And I was just like, okay, like, this is what I asked for. I asked for clearing. And this is an integration process. Okay, so things are gonna fall apart before they fall into place. My main integration process was my health, letting go, taking care of my body. I found out so many different health things I have going on, with masses on my liver, blah, 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 blah. But I also root everything back to ayahuasca because that was a shifting point for me. And even though I know how powerful her medicine is, that last journey was so intense, and I took way too much ayahuasca on top of the mapacho. My gut has just not been the same since. And so I say all this to say that the integration process is the intense process. We had this whole plan to move, and now we're not moving, we're just slowing down. Because like I mentioned in my last video, I lost my mom last year, and then that same year for my birthday, we went to Peru for ayahuasca. And so a lot happened last year, and I was in this constant state of urgency. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And my nervous system kind of adapted to that, and now I'm trying to break that. I haven't been able to accomplish the goals, be in my creativity as much as I'd like to before I even want to leave. I've realized a lot of mental blockages in how I perceive reality, and how subconsciously I'm running away from certain things, and I shouldn't allow my environment, people, places, things to be like, this is why I have to leave, this is why I have to do this. It's like, no, like, taking accountability for myself. I should be able to thrive wherever I go. Mind, body, soul. I should be able to carry myself wherever I go, but also it's okay to slow down. During this integration phase, I've destroyed a lot of narratives I've had towards myself. A lot. And my relationships with my relatives, I've set boundaries. I've become more aware of my cycles. You know those cycles we're in that we're like, dang, how did I get here? My ego, I've had a lot more awareness of my ego and how it keeps me trapped in certain mindsets. So breaking free from these mental chains that I've put on myself, or that have been there since childhood, imprints. So yeah, lots of things have changed, and I must say now, since I've been sober, I don't know, maybe 3 months, I feel great. I feel very grounded, and I've always been hypersensitive, hyper aware, so I really didn't even need cannabis. But it was a parting of ways, because Cannabis was there in my very, very heavy times of life where I had to get through the discomforts, so it became a friend. But then it's just like, okay, you don't need me anymore. And I didn't. And when you continue to use medicines, especially plant medicines you don't need, you end up having negative side effects to the point I literally OD'd on THC. I didn't even know that was possible. Ended up in the ER and had another ayahuasca-like experience. And just a lot of encounters with death. And this is, physical death, mental death, emotional death, spiritual death, rebirth, transformation. Lots and lots of shadow work, lots of being with myself, lots of me having sovereignty, being in my power, putting me first, disconnecting from that people pleasing and that past version of myself, and just slowing down my nervous system. And even till today, I'm working on that. For anybody who's interested in doing ayahuasca, just know that it's not just the plant medicine experience, it's the integration process. And some people take up to 6 years to integrate. Everybody's different. Some people are fast, some people are slow, because really you're battling yourself at the end of the day. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, this is demonic and plant medicines are demonic. And it's just like, maybe what's demonic is what's within you. We all have our own demons. We all have our own demons. We all have our own imbalances. It is just very, very important to know thyself and be open-minded, but also have sacred boundaries energetically with people. And I must say another thing is my discernment has grown. My ability to read people has grown. My intuition has grown. But that's only because I've allowed myself to clear out the things that were blocking me from perceiving things in truth and in clarity. I would say my relationship spiritually has always been there, but it has also grown as well, because now I'm like, okay, like I need to sit with spirit. I need to sit with myself. I need to journal. I'm enjoying more time with solitude. I've always been an introvert, but there's deeper work you have to do in order to move forward in certain aspects of your life. So if you feel called to do ayahuasca, just be mindful that your life will change for better or for worse, but it really is dependent upon you. Know your body, know your health before you decide to sit with Aya. Know that you are safe. It is okay to love. Love is safe. Loving yourself is okay. Allow yourself to break through fear. If ayahuasca told me anything, it's that fear and love cannot coexist at the same present time. So you have to choose a side. And you will continue to battle this fear. And this fear is going to purge. Ayahuasca helps you purge fear. I would recommend it for people who feel called to it. I'm going to insert this in the video, but another thing I forgot to mention, the day that we did leave our ayahuasca ceremony, we were with the shaman, and I'll include some photos as well. We were with the shaman and we offered Pachamama, Mother Earth, gratitude by doing a ceremony. And it was so beautiful and it was amazing. It was very similar to the entrance ceremony where they adorned us and did flower blessings and a river cleansing of their sacred bush. So it's very much so ceremonial. And if you do decide to sit with ayahuasca, just know that it's not one way. So you have to put in your work. You make an agreement in a way. And if you don't uphold this agreement, then you really can't expect things to change in your life. Everybody's agreements they make or intentions they make are different. So just be mindful of that as well. I'm sure every shaman, every place you go has a different way of doing it. Another thing I want to mention is it's very important to support indigenous, native people who spent generations journeying with this plant medicine. I don't feel like I will ever get that type of experience here in the US. And I know that we love convenience here, but there's some things that are worth leaving to support those indigenous people. And it doesn't have to be super expensive, but it's so important to give back to them for all the time and energy that they've put into knowing and learning and connecting with this dimension, this realm, this medicine with love and purity. Because once you learn all the things they have to go through, you ask yourself, would you really be able to do that? And a lot of people here are like, I'm a shaman and I took this course, but it's not really like that. And I do understand a lot of us have a disconnect with our ancestry here in the US, and I, do consider myself a natural born shaman, but at the same time, I didn't grow up in a space or environment with my indigenous folks. And for me to really learn years and years and years, generations of what they know, things that you will not learn online, things you will not learn during a course, it's just very sacred. And so just keep that in mind if you are debating on, I want to sit with ayahuasca here in the US with someone who is not indigenous or native to that land. And also, ayahuasca is not native to the US. It is native to the South Americas. And sure, people will say that the medicine is not bound, right, by place, but you're still going to get a better experience in the place that it grows with the natives. It is just a lot more sacred. It's less tainted. I don't even want to think about it. It was so, ayahuasca's gross. It's like not that bad, but it lingers, and you could just, yeah. It's strong. And I know some people I've talked to here that have done it here. It's like very watered down. And when I share my experience, they're like, well, I've never had such an intense experience. Are you sure they made it right? Like, why would the indigenous folk not make it right? Maybe you guys are going to random ass people just to have a psychedelic experience. So I'm not saying that people don't know what they're doing here, but I'm just saying there's something very sacred about going to an indigenous sacred land, because you're engulfing yourself in the culture, into their spirituality, into their love they have for nature. It's just carried differently there than it is here. So that is just another thing that I wanted to share, to be mindful of when you are deciding if you want to sit with Mama Aya, because it is deep. And I did have a deep calling because I was such in a deep state of grief, losing my only parent really in my life. And even then, she wasn't really around that much. It's a lot, but I feel so much more aligned, grounded, confident. I'm not as bothered by the world anymore because ayahuasca is the realest experience I've ever had. It makes this reality seem like a dream. Trust your gut. If you have experienced ayahuasca or if you've been thinking about it, please leave a comment below. I'd love to know your journey and your experience or your thoughts on it, or if you have any more questions. Thank you so much for being with me at this time and staying tuned in with me and being open to receive this journey that I'm sharing that is very vulnerable. Take care. I'll be posting more videos in the future, so stay tuned for that. And everybody just take care of yourself and be grounded in love. Love you. Meow meow.